here at the Farm and Food Care Ontario Annual Conference, and we're with Andrew Campbell, the winner of the Farm and Food Care Champion Award. Andrew, you're a farmer and you're a communicator. Tell us about the farming side of you.
Sure. So my wife and I and our two young kids farm with my parents in Middlesex County in southern Ontario. We milk cows, we grow corn, soybeans, wheat, and hay.
You're also a longtime communicator. Tell us a little bit about your history in communications and what happened more recently that directly impacted your farming operation.
Sure. So I studied journalism, went into the radio news world, and kind of quickly fell back into the farm world, doing farm news, farm markets, things like that. And then when we came back to the farm to take over the farm, I still had that love of communication. So I was still doing some writing and more recently got into even taking pictures around the farm. And while it started out as, conversations with other farmers, I found pretty quickly that there were a lot of non-farmers that were interested in how we were milking cows, how we were growing grain, all that type of stuff. And so, especially over the last year or 18 months, I've been trying to do that, more and more, and trying to learn, even what types of things people are interested in, what types of things people aren't interested in, how we can do a better job at reaching those, non-farmers interested in where their food's coming from.
There are messages at these sessions today about maybe the message, thank a farmer, is getting a little outdated. What's your take on the message that were put forward today, and whether the role of communications for farming is changing?
Yeah, well, I think certainly on the role of farming changing, I think we have to, add that element of communication into, kind of all of our farm lives, even if it's not necessarily taking a picture and posting on social media, but, are you as a farmer able to properly communicate to your golf buddy, some of the things, why you spray a pesticide, why you grow a genetically modified crop, why you give an antibiotic to an animal, basic things that all of us farmers do and we know is right, but can we properly articulate that to some people in our community? That's part of being a communicator as a farmer as well. Certainly when we look at, some of those old slogans, I think they are getting a little bit outdated because, consumers aren't necessarily, interested in thanking the farmer. They appreciate the farmer, but I think probably where they're coming from is, okay, I appreciate what you do, but I don't know if I'm okay with what you're doing completely. Can you as a producer, can you as a farmer properly tell me what you're doing, and can we kind of come to a middle ground in, acceptance of what each other's doing?
You've been very successful through social media of communicating a photo a day from the farm, and that's been obviously has had great impact on your Twitter account.
Yes, actually, it was one thing that we started in the first of 2005 and did for all of 2005. Since then, it's not every day, it's, a few times a week. But we found as, just kind of almost a project for me to make sure I keep it top of mind to, especially on those busy days, to still take that photo and share with what we're doing. It's easy for us as farmers to, we're going as hard as we can, that rainstorm's coming, we got to get the corn in, whatever it is, to still stop for that 30 seconds. And so that was really what the project was about, but pretty quickly found out that consumers were really interested in it because it was a farmer that was talking about what they're doing. And that's not necessarily a new concept. I think a lot in the industry have been trying to do that. So it was just about realizing that there are consumers that want to know, there are farmers that want to share. Now we've got to figure out how can we get more of us together.
You've obviously grown, you developed a following far beyond your turf of Middlesex, and you've taken your message outside of Canada even. Can you talk a little bit about that, the interest that's grown, it's well beyond Ontario, perhaps Canada?
Yeah, certainly that was the interest, very early on was, in Ontario and nationally, but then we found pretty quickly that, other farmers were starting to say, oh, this makes sense in the US and in the UK and Ireland and Australia and, really in different parts all over the world. So I've been fascinated to see, that interest from other farmers in saying, this makes sense in how we can do this. It's not just about, here's the science, here's the regulatory environment that we produce in, here's, all kind of that fact-based stuff. But here's here's what I'm looking at on a regular basis. Here's why I care about this. Here's the values of it. I think there's that realization that that's part of the discussion we have to have too.
We've heard from Dr. Kevin Folt and others that not all the reaction you get is positive, and it can be negative. Have you felt that as well?
Oh, certainly. Haven't probably as harshly over the last few months, but we had especially probably about 6 to 8 weeks of pretty tough criticism and pretty harsh words, especially from people that really come from a place of trying to preach compassion, actually being quite cruel to other farmers that simply aren't stepping in line with what their beliefs are. It was hard at first, certainly, to hear some of those things and hear some of the comments and take some of those personal attacks. But then there's that realization that this very small fringe group of people is the reason why we farmers have to be part of this discussion. Because if we're not, they're going to carry the conversation. So if we don't want them to be the only ones communicating with the public, we have to step up to the table and just tell people what we're doing.
A lot of people have enjoyed your photo a day from the farm, obviously. What's the future going forward for Andrew Campbell?
Well, certainly, it's actually very similar. I enjoy taking those pictures. I enjoy talking about what we do on a farm. I think certainly one of the challenges that I'm trying to, figure out myself is, okay, what are some of those other big issues that, either consumers are interested in or consumers might be interested in down the road? How can we address some of those already? But certainly, that connecting with the consumer and, especially using that visual element, I found to be successful. I'm going to keep doing it.